Hi, my name is Michael Morris, and this is my Wikipedia topic presentation on the editing of the Ecoforestry page on Wikipedia. This is for the class English 352-452. You might be saying to yourself right now, what is ecoforestry? And maybe how the topic is green related. Ecoforestry has been defined as selection forestry or restoration forestry. The main idea of ecoforestry is to maintain or restore the forest to standards where the forest may still be harvested for products on a sustainable basis. Ecoforestry is forestry that emphasizes holistic practices which strive to protect and restore ecosystems rather than maximize economic productivity. Sustainability of the forest also comes with uncertainties. These uncertainties are defined in the principles of ecoforestry. So the topic is green related because it involves forests and its restoration for sustainable development. The topic covers why we need to have sustainable development in the forest so that we can harvest it, and we must work as humans together in an ecosystem so that we can cohabitate with the products that are there. Now that you know a little bit about what ecoforestry is, let's go into why we need to edit the ecoforestry page on Wikipedia. The page contained many grammatical errors as far as sentence structure, spelling, and syntax of the words. The information provided before was also very minimal. There wasn't a lot of information on the actual subject, and it didn't go too into the subject as far as the principles and what ecoforestry actually does and is. There was also a little bit of speculation used too, and ecoforestry may have been not defined as well as it could have been, and there were some sources that were a little sketchy and shady that were used. This is the ecoforestry page before we edited it. If you look towards where it says references, there was only one reference used, or one source. When you only use one source on a Wikipedia page, you have to look into how valid is that source, how reputable, what information came from that source, and can all this information on this one page really be reliable from just one source of information. From that one reference, we can see that the editor who was on previously did the page did not really research the topic as well as he or she could have. As you look into what actual information is written about ecoforestry, there's not a lot written. It looks about a paragraph or two of information, and that's all, and how much of it is actually accurate. If you look at the page and some of the words in the second line of the first paragraph on ecoforestry, it talks about aesthetics and ethics and spiritual values, which is something that's not really associated with ecoforestry. Ecoforestry is more of an economic, human interaction type of situation, which the author previously talked a little bit about, but he went more into the spiritual sense of it, which was pretty invalid and not as accurate as he could have been. He also could have highlighted a few more words that could have been used to help people understand what he was trying to portray. In the last sentence, he uses words like crisis science and conservation biology, which he could have highlighted as he did landscape, weather, soil, water, and animals in the previous paragraph before. Now that we've seen some of the errors and mistakes within the previous Wikipedia page, let's see what we're actually going to do, or what was actually done in the revision of the page. For one, we wanted to add new information to the page that was valid and accurate, so we used many more sources than one. We used 4 sources, as you'll see later on in this presentation. We also removed some of the bias that was in there. No more spiritual references, and it's more professional as we changed the tone a little bit too to sound more informative. Now we're going to look at the ecoforestry post-editing of the Wikipedia page. As you can already see from an overview of the site, a lot more information was added. There are a few more solid paragraphs of structural information that's more valid and gives the reader a better understanding of what's out there on ecoforestry. I've also added a table on the principles of ecoforestry. If you look next to the words and principles of ecoforestry, you'll see a little number 4, which is from the fourth source I used. I added more sources to this presentation on ecoforestry because not enough information was actually valid from the previous one, so I wanted to go in and further research the page. If you read what was on the previous page to what was on the page now, you'll see a lot of the information is just been redone, and I scrapped all the old information. For the information that is updated now, I went more into the economics of ecoforestry, as that is more likely to where ecoforestry goes into as far as today with sustainability and how they can harvest the products within the forest. I also added the principles of ecoforestry because there's principles behind ecoforestry that are used as guidelines that people should use when practicing good, clean practices of ecoforestry. Now we're going to look at the actual edit of ecoforestry from the previous page. This is entirely a new page with new information and more sources. As you can see now, there are 3 structured paragraphs on ecoforestry, and then there's a table with principles on ecoforestry. The principles were an important add to the page because it gives guidelines for practicing ecoforestry safely and in the proper ethical way. Ecoforestry involves sustainable development, which involves keeping the forest clean and uptight so that it can grow on in the future. A big thing with the sustainable development is so that people can harvest the products within the forest. This is also contained within the article. As you look by the table that says Principles of Ecoforestry, there's a number 4. That number 4 represents the 4th resource that I've used on this project, as there was not enough information used from the one source that the previous editor had used. For the project, I used 3 new references. I used 2 from an ecoforestry magazine, a magazine devoted to the topic of ecoforestry. In there was such information on strategies, and it gave me a guideline of what ecoforestry actually was. They were more valid resources as they dealt with ecoforestry, and there were many studies within the articles. I also used a book. The book had more topics, and that's where I had the principles of ecoforestry come from. It was an outline from many studies that have taken place over the years, and many articles and sources gathered together under one roof, or that book, and that gave a good guideline and basis to what information should actually be used when covering ecoforestry. As you can see now, the page has 4 sources of information which are reliable, and substantial information can come to whoever reads the page and looks into it, and they can trust the Wikipedia site now for information on ecoforestry, as it was heavily researched. As our presentation is coming to an end, let's go over how Wikipedia was substantially improved. Now there's more information available on the topic of ecoforestry. It's accurate, and there are no biases within the article. There's more research, which means there was more sources used, so Wikipedia can be more trusted right now. There's more professional sound to it and less errors because the tone was changed, where it was not based on opinion or spirits or religion. It was based on accurate information from many defined sources. Revising an article such as this one is very substantial to Wikipedia because Wikipedia is provided by users and editors to just give general information to the public. Wikipedia is an encyclopedia, so they want to have the most up-to-date information available. By adding new sources, up-to-date information is then available, as we did with the page that we just edited. Wikipedia, because it is a professional encyclopedia that people look to research from, we do not want many errors or sentence structures wrong within the article, so that was also fixed as well. By fixing that, Wikipedia looks more trusted, and people can come to Wikipedia more for information and sources and just learning about certain new topics within everyday life. Thank you for listening to this presentation on the editing of the Wikipedia page on ecoforestry. I'm Michael Morris, and have a good night.